Hello everyone and welcome to the video. So this is going to be my DPS build for my Warlock. I know a couple of people have asked for this, so it's still a work in progress. I'm still changing bits around as I'm doing things, and I have one rotation for AoE, I have one rotation for single target. I'll explain a couple of powers that I think at the moment are having a bit of problems, because there is definitely one power which I have noticed, which is lackluster. But I'll explain that when we get to it. So first of all, I'm going to start with gear. So, gear for Warlock in Mod 19. Now, I am missing an enchantment here, but please ignore it because it's on another character and I haven't got it back yet. As you can see, my stats here, 185k power, 90k armor pen, 91k defense, 90k crit, nearly 90k accuracy, 140k combat advantage, with 445k health. Now, as I said in my previous healer video, I'm still working on gearing this guy up towards Zariel, so his health still isn't there, but his stats are pretty much on point. There's just a few more things I gotta do to get the health up, and to get this accuracy, which is just one companion, which I just haven't leveled up yet because I don't have the tokens. In terms of gear, Lion Guard's Raid Cowl. Definitely recommend using this for dungeons and any other content apart from Tower of the Mad Mage. Again, I'm going to be basing this video on Tower of the Mad Mage. So for Tower of the Mad Mage, you would use the Protege's Charmed Hat for Warlock, or the other one which gives the plus 5% damage in the Undermountain. That's what you really want it for, is the plus 5% damage. Let me just pop that back on. Then for the robe, ebony stained robes are still the ones I have. I still don't have the I think it's Seer of the Stars robes. I still haven't got them from Emmys, although I'm doing them every day. The drop rate is just abysmal as usual. But it has come to our attention that there is a new best in slot chest piece, which is the Scavenger armor, as the stacks on that give you 1% power for 10 seconds and have 10 stacks rather than 5. So definitely worth looking into that, and if you check out Garlink's and his video, he tells you exactly how to do it and where to do it too. For the arms, I use the Lion Guard's Raid Risk cards, because you gain power and you lose a stack when you're struck, and you gain a stack when you strike an enemy. As a Warlock, we're always hitting, so you're always, majority of the time, you're always going to have 20 stacks easy. I have modified this one with health, because I use them on my healer side as well. 3.5k health to 880 power. I prefer to have the health at this point. On my headpiece, so on my headpiece and my arms I use health, and then on my chest and my feet I use power. So for my feet then, I use the Fiend Forge shoes, which have been fully upgraded, so they do 1% damage against demons, devils, and fiends. And then for my weapons, the Lionheart set. Gotta be at the moment, isn't it? It's the best set I've got at the moment. I don't have the Zariel one, because like I said, I'm still building up for that. But yeah, Lionhearts are, to me, they're still they're still better than the Zariel weapons, but then I haven't had the Zariel weapons to test them, so I can't really say anything, can I? But these are still the ones to aim for. So then the set I'm using, now this changes, the set. So this is the Dark Remnants set. This is what you need for doing TIC. Just because it increases your damage by 2.5%, and then gives you a further 2.5% against demon, devils, and fiends, and in TIC and the Avernus areas, they're all demons, devils, and fiends. Hence, you use the Dark Remnant set, and the Fiend Forge shoes, which gives you the 1% damage. So you've always got a 6% damage buff on you already. For Tom, I would swap this to the Mad Mage set. So I would have this, and this, because of the bonus it gives you, which is Mad Dash, which is here. Speed and damage increased, and the actual damage and speed is increased by 5% when you stand still for 3 seconds. In Tom, you're not moving around that much, so that 5% damage is pretty much guaranteed a lot of the time. But like I said, this is the set I use when I'm running TIC. Or generally other content, if I'm being honest, because that 2.5 damage boost you get anyway, you know, that's guaranteed all the time. Where the Mad Mage set is great, but if you're in a dungeon where you're moving around all the time, unless you're on like a static boss, which there's not that many in the game, you're never really going to benefit from getting the 5% damage increase. So I would recommend this one over that one for most dungeons anyway. But definitely for Tower of the Mad Mage, you want to go with the Mad Mage set. For rings, Guiding Ring of the Spy, you can use the Guiding Ring of the Sharpshooter, I think it's called, which is the legendary version of this ring. I didn't see the need on spending the money. If I did, it would cap my accuracy, that I wouldn't have to get that companion, but I'm more than happy with the one I got. Now, one thing for Warlock is all of our skills are classed as ranged powers. The only skill that isn't classed as range is the melee form of Hand of Blight. It's counted as melee, but if you're casting it from afar, it's counted as range. That is the only skill that I can see that is counted as melee and not ranged. So the second ring then is the Ebonized Raid Ring. Again, ranged powers do 3% more damage. You can have 2 snipers perks on, so these 2 rings are currently best in slot, unless you want to go for the legendary one because you've got the money to spend, then go for it. But yeah, these 2 rings, you want to get them. Obviously I've talked about the Dark Remnant set, this is just a belt to go with it. And then you want the Ebony Stain shirt. So it doesn't matter what one you get, obviously you want to get the one that benefits your stats the most. But this is because when your stamina is over 75%, your damage is increased by 3%. Now, because of the Lion Hearts, where the more stamina you've got, the more damage you do, you're going to try and keep your stamina above 75%, which means you're going to get the near enough to 10% from the Lion Heart, plus the 3% from the Ebony Stained. My final one then is I use Pants of the Veteran, just because it's got the most crit avoidance on it, and I don't really need it, but it's what I use on my healer side, saves me changing enchantments all the time. And the power on is quite nice as well, that whenever you critically strike, you have a 10% chance to gain 25 AP. 25 AP is not much, but it's better than nothing. So yeah, that's it for gear really. I don't really change that much. For my artifacts, 3 books and whatever one I need to go with the Mad Mage set. With my neck and waist set. So at the moment it's the Book of All Darkness. Always got the Envenomed on active. Why not? AP, power, damage, you know, it's best in slot at the moment for DPS if you're being honest. So yeah, that's pretty much it for artifacts. The only difference I might have is when I'm in Tom, obviously I have to change the Blast Scepter here. So I wouldn't be using the Book of All Darkness, but I then might have to change one of my books out. So if I was changing one of the books out, I would actually change out the Envenomed. Now the reason for this is the Frozen and the Flayed both give some HP. So I'd rather have the HP and lose the little bit of power that the Envenomed gives over having the HP. But then I might get put on Charm of the Serpent for argument's sake. So I'll change that. Lose a little bit of stats and power. A little bit of health. Not too much. So it's gone down to 440k there from 444 or 46, one of them. But yeah, that's pretty much it for gear. In Bark Shield, in armor, for AoE instances, either a Vorpal or a Lightning enchantment is best. I use a Vorpal. In single target then, you'll change the Vorpal out for a Bilethorn. And the reason for this is Bilethorn is absolutely insane for Warlocks, especially on single target. I'll show you why in a second. But basically, that's pretty much the setup I run in terms of damage. As my DPS side, my actual gear doesn't change between AoE and single target, they stay the same. So obviously, depending on what I'm running as well, like I said, I might change out the neck and the waist and the one artifact to get me the other set bonus. But apart from that, these will all stay the same. So next we'll do powers last. We'll move on to Mount Insignias next. So I'm using the Swift Golden Lion. So it gives a nice shield and then it grants you damage afterwards. So summons your celestial light, knock back nearby foes, and grant nearby party members up to 30% of their max HP to a maximum of 120k hit points as a shield for 10 seconds. After 10 seconds, the party members affected gain up to 3 stacks of radiant weapon based on the amount of shield remaining. Radiant weapon grants 2% additional damage as radiant damage for 12 seconds. You may have no more than 8 stacks of radiant weapon from any source. So all that means is, after your shield runs out, depending on how many stacks you get, you'll get a percentage-based increase in damage as radiant damage for 12 seconds, and generally it gives you 3 stacks every time, so that's 6% additional damage of radiant damage, which is a nice little buff. I use Dominant Force, so the 10k power, and obviously Legendary Movement for the quicker movement. In terms of mount insignias, I'm not yet finished with these, so please don't laugh at the insignias I've got. I want to get 3 Gladiator Guiles, a Barbarian's Revelry, and I will probably leave Oppressor's Reprieve on, just because they're self-healing ones. But the Champion's Return will be going, and the Magistrate's Patience will be going. That was literally just to fill out some insignia slots. I do use a combination of different ones to be able to get my stats all capped, but majority will be Dominance and Brutality with maybe 1 or 2 Fortitudes thrown in there. Yeah, there's one there. Where to go? Yeah, there's a Fortitude there, which just bumps the HP up really, and that's what I needed at the time. So yeah, that's pretty much it for mount insignias. So next we'll move on to companions. I use the Bullet Pup as it's best in slot for all DPS really. You want your Bond and Runestones at rank 15, certainly want them up. And then the companion gear, I use 2 Empowereds there, an Empowered and a Profane there, and a Recondite and an Arcane Runestone there, and they're all rank 15. I don't even know what these are called, I'm guessing Mount Power things, whatever they are. Potent Precision, Hunting Drake's Presence from the Hunting Drake, Baby Deep Crow's Presence. This one I would swap out in Tom for a Raptor if I got put up in the Raptor group. Barbarian Shaman's Wisdom, Flame Sprite's Insight. This is the one that I still got to level up, so it'll give me another 1000 accuracy and another 500 crit strike, which means at that point I could look at, say, this Enlightened Insignia skill and swap it for something like a Brutality or a Dominance or something like that. And then finally the Alpha Compy in the utility slot. If I wanted to take the Alpha Compy off, I haven't got the Energon at Legendary, but you'll see there my power will go down to 176, but I will have 472k health. So it's probably going to look to be the way I'm going to be able to do Zariel. But for now, it's definitely the Compy's Instincts is the best. I have done the testing between the Alpha Compy and the Baby Owlbear, so they're both at Legendary for me. I find I still do more damage with the Compy because it's guaranteed that 5% power over a 10% chance to do an additional hit for 50% of your power, which my power is not at 200k, so I wouldn't even get a 100k hit. It would be 92.5k if I was to hit with the power I got at the moment. Obviously, with the Ebony Stained Robes giving me more power, and the Line Guard's wrist guards and the Fiend Forged shoes, obviously my power is going to go up to over 200k. Well, I could do 100k damage with the Owlbear, but the guarantee of having that Compy up for 5% more power is just more beneficial in the long run. So that is my companions that I run. I'm nearly at the 15% bolster. Who have I got left to do? I just got to pick a random companion in here, which will probably be the Cockatrice, just because it's already epic and I only got to pay one thing to bump it up, and then I'll be at the 15% bolster for him as well. So next we'll move on to Boons. So Boons, the master boon you want is Bloodlust. The tier 5 boons I choose is Severe Criticism for more crit severity and Quick Turnaround for recharge speed. It is a toss-up between AP regen and recharge speed. I just find that little bit of recharge speed, 4% more, just helps me get my skills off a little bit quicker. And then for your tier 1 to tier 4, you want all the power, all the health, movement speed, companion influence, damage versus fiends, because that's the new area, and it looks like it's going to be the new area for a while. So with all the episodic content that's apparently going to be coming out, that's going to be the best. And then the extra points you got just put into things that you need. So I've put some into defense and into accuracy, and that's what's taking me up to the cap that I am nearly at with accuracy. Finally, then we'll. Oh, sorry, I forgot to talk about the guild stronghold. I have tested crit severity against power. For my build, power is better than crit severity, so I'll always use the power one. I use the HP one because my defense is already over cap. I could use the crit avoidance one on my healer side to bump my crit avoidance up, but considering I'm nearly at the cap for that, I don't really need to do it. I don't need any more incoming healing because I don't use those dreaded minus 25% boots. Although you can use those boots in Tom if you really want to, because the actual heals that you get will still heal you through all the phases within Tower of the Mad Mage. But I prefer having the extra power from the boots, plus they balance my stats out more. Although the stat caps for Tom are 80k. Now that's something you got to remember, because obviously mine are at 90k because I'm gearing for the new trial. But in fact, the stat caps for Tom are 10,000 less than these. So it means you could take off, for argument's sake, on my build now, I could take off those other 3 runestones, and I would still be over 80k and be able to put 3 more empowereds in, which would give me more power again. I'd probably be close to 200k then. But I'm very happy with the way my build's going. I can do Tom, I can do any dungeons. So I have no problem with the build I use. And like I said, you can swap these boots out for the Rusted Iron leggings if you really wanted to. It's completely up to you. And I just realised that that is where my other dark enchantment went. And I've been looking for that for a while. So let me just slot him on there, because this will give you a little bit more stats. It's not much from dark enchantments, but you know, there you go. You can see my stats have gone up a tiny little bit more. Obviously, I've lost the combat advantage, but that's because I haven't got these boots on. Once I put these boots on, it'll all balance back out again, and it's just my accuracy that is below the cap. And that's literally all I need to worry about, is just getting that accuracy 700 more points, which, like I said, that companion is going to do that for me. Now, the big subject of powers. So, for AoE, I run this, which is Hellfire Ring, Fiery Bolt, and Curse Bite. I have Eldritch Blast on my right click and Hellish Rebuke on my left click. The dailies, I still use Tyrannical Curse, and I use Soul Siphon, just because you get the 2 hits, which is a nice 900 magnitude hit, and it leaves them with a curse on them, and a Soul Puppet gets summoned. So it means straight after using that daily, I can use Curse Bite again, if I've got a charge. Now, in terms of feats, I use No Pity, No Mercy to get the combat advantage after Fire Ring or Fiery Bolt hits, and I use Deadly Curse. Now, the reason for this is with the feats of Parting Blasphemy, whenever curse is removed from a target, it deals 85 magnitude damage. Now, I have been toying for the last couple of weeks regarding which powers I should be using. And what I've come to the conclusion as is I've been running different dungeons with different DPS kinds. For example, barbarians, hunters, rogues, wizards, etc., etc. The Warlock class is heavily reliant on damage over time. They are not reliant on straight up damage. Now, when you're up against classes that can kill things very quickly, it makes you feel a bit minute in dungeons. So this AoE build that I've come up with here actually will allow you to hit things very quick and kill trash mobs very quickly, just like the other classes can. Now, I gotta give thanks to Miri, who I was running Lair the Mad Mage with the other day, because we had a discussion afterwards, because I said to him, what skills do you use? And he showed me. I done testing afterwards, and I've tweaked his build a little bit to what he was doing, but I think it's still along the same lines. So the way we do this now is you've got Hellfire Ring. Hellfire Ring will put a curse on the enemy. Always does. You then use Curse Bite. So Curse Bite will do a 252 magnitude hit. Plus, because you've put a curse on, you get the 25 magnitude hit from Deadly Curse. With Curse Bite, because you're ripping the curse off them, you get the 85 magnitude hit. So you're getting 135 plus 25, so that is 160. Plus the Curse Bite then, so that's 250, so that is 410. Because you've ripped it off, you're getting the curse removed, deals 85 magnitude, so that is 495 magnitude. You then use Fiery Bolt, which is 200, so that makes it 695. But then you apply in a curse again, so you get the Deadly Curse again, so that is 720. You then use Curse Bite because you're ripping it off. That is 970. And you also get in Parting Blasphemy again for 85, which I've forgotten the number now. But it was 970, so it'd be 1010, 1050, so it'd be 1055 magnitude damage in the space of a few seconds. So I'll demonstrate this for you now in Trailer Blades. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can see there. And then obviously you got the Bilethorn procs going on the damage over time. But the problem with the Bilethorn is obviously it takes 4 seconds before it starts activating. So that is why I prefer to use Vorpal in an AoE instance or a Lightning Enchantment in an AoE instance. Just because it's going to do more damage than waiting for the Bilethorn to proc. Because the enemies are more than likely going to be dead before your Bilethorn procs. So I just go to stand back by here for a minute. So yeah, that's basically the rotation I use for the AoE Warlock. Feats then I use Double Scorch just because waiting for, like, you could use Power of the Nine Hells if you wanted to. I just chose Soul Scorch because I thought more straight up damage for AoE instances, more radiating DOT from Soul Scorch because obviously it does it to target enemies within 15. You know, it even though you get the 20% extra damage from using Power of the Nine Hells with risky investment, I just found that because you're looking for quick DPS, high DPS to get rid of the trash mobs, that's the best one to go with. Parting Blasphemy, I've already explained why. Risky investment, I don't really use it in this instance because I'm not using any skills that will grant me soul investiture. But it's better than using the Soul Puppet one because that's just rubbish. No one uses that. Creeping Death, just because it adds that little bit more damage that if you do your rotation and they still got a bit of health left, it really helps with just finishing them off. You could use Executioner's Gift if you wanted to because you'll do 20% more damage as they lose health. So in your rotation, as you're going round, you're obviously taking more and more health off, so you're going to get more and more damage from this one. I just personally like Creeping Death, and I always have, so that's my own personal choice. And then finally, Soul Spark Recovery. Doesn't matter whether you're on AoE or single target, you're always going to use this, because the Soul Scorch, which is your tab mechanic, will reduce your cooldowns for every 6 Soul Sparks spent by 1 second. And that will be on your encounters, and I love it. Best thing in the world, this. I can get my encounters cooled down within a few seconds. Only problem with Soul Spark Recovery, it doesn't apply to Curse Bite. So this will have to be on its own cooldown, and you just gotta wait for it to cool down. So that's pretty much it for my AoE. Like I said, for the at-wills, I toss between the two. Eldritch Blast is very good when there's a group of mobs. Hellish Rebuke is very good when you just got one mob and you're just finishing them off. So it's completely up to you what ones you want to use, but these are the two that I know work for me, and they're the ones I use. So let's move on to the single target. So for single target, I do it a little bit pretty much the same build as what other people would use. Hellfire Ring along with Power of the Nine Hells to gain the Soul Investiture stacks. Gives me 20% more damage. Hadar's Grasp. And then Killing Flames with All-Consuming Curse and Deadly Curse. So that's just because Hellish Rebuke is going to be your go-to skill for any trial or boss that you do. Just because with Bilethorn you can abuse the hell out of it. So what I mean by that is when you, I'll do it on this one here, so when you attack, every one of these attacks now is going to proc Bilethorn. So you'll see the little bits of damage coming off the side eventually. That is Bilethorn proccing on each one of the hits. On top of that, you're putting a DOT on that enemy. On top of that, you're putting Creeping Death. On top of that, your Deadly Curse is hitting, doing 25 magnitude damage for every one you do. You're just stacking and stacking the DOTs, which is why it's very good for bosses and trials, because trials are just bosses. So if I just show you quickly, use that. That increases the damage. You can see the Soul Investiture stacks going up at the top here, so now I'm at 5. Hadar's Grasp, because each tick of Hadar's Grasp applies Bilethorn as well. Killing Flames. Back to Hellfire Ring. Use a tab to cool them down a little bit, but you don't want to be using tab too much. Tab is your just go-to skill if you need to cool them down quickly. Now for me, I've already got Hellfire Ring up, so I can cast that. Now I'll tab. But I'm always got my finger on left click doing Hellish Rebuke. Now I encounter her, I do Hadar's Grasp, and Killing Flames again. And I did not crit, which is a shame. But anyway, that's pretty much the rotation I use for my single target. Now, I'll explain a couple of other things as well. You can use Dark Helix and save it for phases where you can have artifact callouts, because if you've got 3 stacks, you gain a 285 magnitude hit. Doesn't really bother me that. I only ever really use Hellish Rebuke, and that's it. I did at one point do testing with Hand of Blight, but I just found you just got more DPS output from Hellish Rebuke at the end of the day. My dailies are Tyrannical Curse and Soul Siphon again, like I said earlier on. And yeah, apart from this feat here, and obviously Power the 9 Hells to stack, Warlock's Curse, you deal 12% more damage to targets afflicted with Curse. Because you're using All-Consuming Curse, where your at-will powers now apply Curse to enemies hit, you're always going to get that 12% damage increase. And again, Creeping Death, Soul Investiture, or Risky Investment to get the Soul Investiture stacks, which Power the 9 Hells is very good with Hellfire Ring, because even if you don't hit anything, it will give you the 5 stacks, as you can see here. So within 4 seconds, you've got 20% more damage. Now, the only skill that's controversial for me, which I see a lot of people still use, is Blade of Vanquished Armies. I was using this skill at the beginning, and it is a decent skill, because if the enemy is cursed, you deal 50% more damage to them, so you do 150 magnitude rather than 100. Problem for me now with this skill is when you're in a trial or in a dungeon, you have to look up, because if you target somebody, it puts it on them. Now, you'll see here that if I put it on myself, and I don't hit the target dummy, and then I move closer, it doesn't hit properly. It only procs the Bilethorn ticks, which is annoying. But if I'm next to the enemy, and I cast it on myself, now you'll see that it's actually hitting the enemy properly. What I found in trials is that if you miss the first tick of Blade of Vanquished Armies, it doesn't hit at all. And that is the one downfall for the power for me, which is why I prefer Hellfire Ring. Obviously, Hellfire Ring is a statutory skill, where if you're moving around, if the enemy moves out of there now like this, that's it, you lose the damage over time on them, because they gotta stay within the circle. But that is pretty much my build for single target and for AoE on DPS Warlock. If you've got any questions, give me a shout in game. My name's Prism. You can also find my partner Smithy, who is Osiris in game. He will pass on any messages if you have them for me. And finally, there's one little update from my healer video that I did last time, which is I've now swapped sets to using the Wyvern set, just because you gain that Rune of Aggression, which increases outgoing damage by 5% once you use a daily, which is very helpful for the DPS. But apart from that, everything else is the same. So thank you for watching the video. I hope you subscribe and like the video. And like I said, any issues or any questions, let me know. Cheers, guys.